Hi everyone, it's Lisa from Been There, Got Out. Now we are going live for real with tonight's guest, Dawn Brauer. She's known as Secure Babies on Instagram. And the last time we were together live, there she is, was about a year ago. I was looking at what I asked her then. I'm like, I'm not asking you those same questions at all. This is like, a lot has changed since then. So thank you so much, Dawn, for coming back again. Dawn is one of my favorite people that I've met on Instagram, and I don't know how many years it's been. Like, I feel like you knew Been There, Got Out when we were just little, hardly anybody knew who we were. And we became friends virtually, and you live sort of near me, but we haven't met in real life yet. Hopefully one day we will. But, you know, being a New Yorker, I love Dawn's accent. She's got that heavy Long Island accent. So I always tell her this, like, she feels like family because of that accent. My parents are from Brooklyn and Queens. So anyway, thank you so much, Dawn, for coming back. And why don't you, again, introduce yourself for the people who weren't here 7 minutes ago.
My name is Dawn Brauer. I'm a pediatric physical therapist by trade. I've been doing pediatric physical therapy for 24 years. Due to some life circumstances, it took me down a path to kind of go back to the beginnings of child development in infancy and how the importance of the parent-child bond developed, and when it's healthy, what it looks like, and when it's not healthy, what it looks like. And either way, there are benefits to a healthy bond and repercussions to an unhealthy bond. And so I've just taken my life's work, my passion as a career, and I've meshed it with my life experience. And I just want to take that knowledge and maybe help people from the beginning, help parents, caregivers from the beginning to really give their child the best chance at living a good life, picking good partners, because it stems from the beginning relationship that we have with our caregivers.
Yeah, and I know that one of the big themes we're going to talk about tonight is when one parent tries to alienate the other parent. And I know there's other words used, but that seems to be the most common one. And I'm not talking about parental alienation syndrome, which we know is junk science. I'm talking about actual behaviors that often a toxic parent uses to turn the children against a targeted parent, especially after that person gets out of the relationship. And so this is also called abuse by proxy. And a lot of these kids are victims of coercive control. There's all kinds of complex reasons as to why they too will align with the toxic partner. So, and that's something that a huge portion of our community is dealing with all the time. And it's such, and you know, it's like one of the most painful things that anyone can experience. So what are some ways that you know, either in your personal experience or just through this community, that a toxic co-parent will turn a child against often a victim of domestic abuse?
Yeah, so a lot of times it's a big tool is the gaslighting, you know, things that would be construed as just typical parenting, you know, like the Life 360 app. That was construed as a controlling tool that a parent would use, you know, for a child. But meanwhile, it was just a parent being, you know, just concerned, making sure they got home okay, or they were, you know, at a sports field, you know, where they were coming and going. And I find gaslighting can take like it's gaslighting is like taking the cup that's half empty or half full and showing or manipulating the child's reality to always being half empty. See? This is controlling. This is controlling. This is what's happening. And what I find, personal experience, that things would be discussed. You know, the way I describe, you know, dealing as trying to be a healthy parent in the best interest of the children is like I'm boxing in a ring with the lights out, my hands tied behind my back with a blindfold on, and spectators cheering the opponent. And
Great analogy.
With, you know, with a smile on, not to where I'm going to enable abuse that I see. So there is no black and white answers here. It is a delicate dance, and I'm not perfect. And what I might say, this is what you shouldn't do, if I'm having a bad regulation day, emotional regulation day, and I'm stressed, and it's the straw that broke the camel's back, I'm going to falter. But the key is having people that understand. And most people, and I say this about professionals, I say this about friends, about people that you go to support, unless they understand narcissistic abuse, they have zero idea. There is no healthy co-parenting with a narcissist. It's like walking up a mountain upstream in a stream with a backpack and an elephant on, in the sense that I'm unparenting and I'm working so hard, and I don't know if I'm making my way, but I know my goal is up that mountain. That's where I'm going. So it's hard to know if, you do the best that you can. And I can just tell you, like, knowing what secure attachment is, you're giving your child the best chance to overcome big trauma, little trauma, the trauma with what's going on, between, the parents per se. That's why I do it, to give my children the best shot at being able to process what's happening when they're more mature and able to understand, what's happening, not to play into, because we could be triangulated. The narcissist try to triangulate the parent with the kids, with them. Like, the narcissist, it's a competition. They want to win. So if I can get my child to turn against the parent, that's a win. And that's what their aim is. It's competition. I want to win. It's about winning.
Yeah, and something you mentioned before was how there's the glass that's half full or the glass that's half empty, and the toxic parent will always get the child to believe that the glass is half empty and to have a sort of pessimistic view of reality. Is that so that they'll be more dependent on that parent?
Oh, that's one of the reasons. It's also to get them to, hold contempt against the other parent, to, like when you were a teenager, and this goes back to, like, narcissists are arrested development. They're emotionally arrested development. People are walking around in adult physical bodies, but their brain is emotionally arrested. So they resort to very immature patterns. And what did you do? Like, if you had a friend, if you were fighting with a friend, you try to get recruits. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, Susie said that about me. What do you think? And here's another term, emotional abuse, where, as far as, it's emotional incest, where the narcissistic parent uses that child as a confidant. That is right. Inappropriate. And I have to be honest, like, it's really upsetting to me to see what the court professionals don't know, how much they don't know about abuse and the manipulative abuse and the emotional abuse. Emotional incest is just as bad, or I hate to compare, or worse than, like the physical abuse is obvious. The emotional abuse, it's like we can't win. Like, it's like I'm trying to, you try to give an example of emotional abuse, and it's kind of like, well, they're not beating the child, or they're giving them 3 squares a day. They put a roof over their head. And there's so much more to healthy development and what's in a child's best interests.
Yeah. And like you said, it's like people who don't get it, they minimize it. And a lot of people who don't get it seem to think that physical abuse is the worst. And if it's not happening, then it doesn't really count.
It's awful, right? And that's what we were dealing with the narcissist. It's the minimization, the invalidation. Then we have people that we look to for support doing that to us. And then what happens? We do it to ourselves. Right. Like, you're like, well, at least he doesn't lock them in a closet, or, whatever. The bottom line is that, emotional abuse, physical abuse, it all affects the well-being of a child. It all affects the well-being of a child, ultimately.
Yeah. And so another thing regarding that parental alienation, when someone's trying to separate a child or turn a child against the other parent, our clients, like our community, huge number of people are dealing with that. And we often get on a call with someone where they see the beginnings of it happening. They'll say, I see my ex is starting to alienate the child from me, and the child's like starting to turn against me, and I'm terrified because now my relationship's going to be ruined forever because that person's going to turn the kid against me, and they just completely fall apart. But I know, Dawn, that you can comfort, that you can offer some comfort with this. Can you say why that, because of what you do, why that's not necessarily true?
Well, because so secure attachment is about buffering the child. It's about giving that child, self-love. That's what secure attachment is providing that child. So a pathological strategy that we use sometimes, being, with CPTSD as like recovering from abuse, is we do catastrophic thinking, right? So we go all the way into the future. I've done it. Like, oh my gosh, when they're getting married and then I'm not going to be going to the wedding. So that's, if we can be mindful about the way our brains are talking to ourselves, then we would realize, like, when I start realizing I'm going like all the way into the future, I'm like, well, that's catastrophic thinking. So let's bring it back a little bit. And I try to do, my way of coping was reading insatiably. I feel like I know more than a lot of psychologists and counselors, not to boast, I would never treat, but as far as like specific narcissistic abuse and like the red flags. And I would say education empowers us, we want to empower ourselves to see the tools that are happening and not to do like catastrophic thinking, that we want to be that stable parent, that safe harbor for the child. Like children, they're going through like, their own tumultuous, emotions, just dealing with parents that are splitting up. And we don't want to engage, like in that dynamic of the push and pull of the child where they feel like that they're a pawn. We don't want that. So we really have to learn to regulate ourselves. So I always like tell my kids, because I am still an athlete by nature. So I play, I'm, all in, and I got to work on myself, before I think I have something to contribute to the team. So I'm not worried about, I'm going to make myself steady and stable so that when the child is around me, I am that point of relativity that my feel what safe feels like. Here's another important point. Like, we want them to feel like they can be their authentic self. Because what happens is you have children are going to do two things. That's when they're trying to develop relationships with their primary caregiver. They're either looking for attachment or authenticity. And attachment is equal to survival. Okay, that's survival. Because if a baby isn't attached to a caregiver, they're not getting fed, predators can come and get them. So if they're just looking to attach, they're giving up their authenticity. So my goal as a steady parent is to allow them to be their authentic self. If my children don't want to go somewhere, I listen, why that is. Not just like forcing them, oh, let's go to Adventureland, like trying to make up for all the lost time. I just want to be home and be in your presence. And I'm a big, we've spoken about like heart math, like Joe Dispenza and the ability for brain heart coherence. When you've been around people's energy and it's, a little overwhelming, or those people that are more soothing, kids might not be able to verbalize, or adults might not be able to verbalize why they feel that way, but you're going to be that point of relativity, like, oh, this is how I feel when I'm around the safe parent versus this is how I feel when I'm around, a parent where you're dealing with cognitive dissonance. Like, I didn't know that was a word. When I was growing up, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. But yet, they say they love me, but this. And it was like an unease in my stomach.
All the time. All the time.
So I was a kid once. So what do you think our children are feeling? And trauma, again, big trauma, little trauma, whatever you want to call it, it's still trauma, gets trapped in the body. So whenever we kind of get frazzled, that's actually an opportunity to realize that there's something that needs to be healed in us. I'll give you an example. So when I feel like I have FOMO, like I'm missing out, my children are creating all these memories that I was forced not to participate in because now of the life circumstances. Well, I felt like I didn't matter, that I didn't exist, so that was a trigger in me. And I cannot say enough about EMDR. I am a completely different person from where I was last June to where I am now. I do not get triggered half as much. Just seeing the name in an email would trigger me. Just knowing that they were doing something that I wasn't included in would trigger me. But EMDR, it helped me go in, pull it out by the root, and I'm becoming like a stronger person. and realizing that it was just because of what I experienced when I was younger that was just manifesting in a dynamic that was happening today with my own children.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about, Chris did EMDR and also loved it. I think he only did it like once or twice, but huge changes. Can you just briefly, because a lot of people don't know what EMDR is.
So EMDR is called eye movement and desensitization and reprocessing. So what you're doing is you're actually going in, you're scanning your body for where, you know, there's unease or like, so a specific event happens. And if you notice now, it's triggering like a specific feeling in your body. So the EMDR therapist, you know, goes in and you talk about like, what were you feeling, you know, when you felt that way? What would you rather feel? It's literally going in, it's what's called a somatic therapy. It's going in and taking that pit in your stomach or that pit in your throat or that migraine headache. It's taking it and it's lessening its grip on you. Because of your eyes have to go back and forth, right? So, interestingly enough, I did that one time because I thought that that's what it was, but there are other tools. I use these paddles that vibrate, and the vibration, it stimulates both sides of the body, so both sides of the brain. So I use paddles. I have done the eye thing, which you can do, that is part of it. But, you know, maybe one time I could see if my EMDR therapist would come on, because I can't speak enough. I don't know her stuff to talk about it from that point. But as a client, I can tell you it has made a world of a difference. I'm a better parent because I'm working on myself. So I'm not snapping at my kids where I feel, you know, unloved. I mean, motherhood or fatherhood, you're a good father, is an unappreciated job to begin with, let alone, you know, I had a little bit of a sad, you know, time last night. Like, man, like, not only am I unappreciated in general, that's how I feel in that moment, but I'm like, but I have to, you know, I'm dealing with so many layers that they don't even know about, that I was trying to shield them from, because, you know, kids know they're half parent one and half parent two. And, you know, if they start feeling like you don't like the other parent, they feel like you don't like half of them. Exactly. Yeah. So it is walking on a tightrope. It's walking on a tightrope with good sleep, eating healthy. You know, it's a hard thing, but I highly recommend somatic therapy, whether it's EMDR or whatever else, because I really feel trauma gets trapped in the body. And I believe that the reason we chose a narcissist as a partner is because we had wounds that attracted that needed to come out. Yeah, definitely. So when I mean, there's so much you said. I'm like, what was the thing you said about feeling frazzled is an opportunity to heal something? Was that it? Well, so feeling frazzled. So for example, if I feel, you know, like usually, let's say if I ask him to do one of my kids something 10 times, maybe this day it won't bother me, but the next day it does. It's because it's not completely like, you know, healed, where like I feel like invisible. Like I have to ask you 10 different times but then you have to blend the fact that they're a normal teenager, that's just a rite of passage. But if I'm not aware of that, like this takes so much control in your prefrontal cortex. It takes a lot of control. If you don't appreciate that that's a rite of passage, that's what you have to do, then you're going to take everything so personal. And then this against the teenager is going to be like, well, see, that narcissist is right. Look at how unhinged. But we're hiding so much under the layers. And that's why, like, when it comes to self-development, I also recommend mindfulness. This is a marathon we're in. This is a marathon throughout life. We have to train our prefrontal cortex, which is the front part of the brain, to say, it's okay, amygdala, you're okay. It's okay. You're not going to be eaten by a bear. You know, you're not going to fall off a cliff, fight, flight, or freeze. You're okay. But it drains us because it's like using so much energy. A lot of things, you know, emotional energy is just very draining. Yeah, well, I think most people watching this and who will watch later absolutely are familiar with that. So you came up with this great acronym
that you did a whole presentation on the last time you were on about secure, because your name is Secure Babies. You want to go through that again and the significance of secure?
Yes. So using the word secure, which I love using it as an acronym. So I take the letters in the word secure, SECURE, and I have given like points. Now I can go, not tonight necessarily, but I can go elaborate on each point, but each word is going to tell you, like, these are the things, these are the components that we need to create a secure attachment with our children. Because healthy dependence is going to lead to healthy independence. So I really try to what's the word? Like when you want to take away a myth, you know, people
demystify it. Yeah.
Demystify, like when people think like, oh, look at my 2-year-old, they're so independent. They can play by themselves for an hour. That's not great. Babies learn from infancy throughout life. You know, like we regulate with other people. We're social beings. We're social. So babies learn about who they are and what they are through our eyes. So if they're not getting that interaction, you know, I'm not saying you have to be on top of them. You know, Buddha said everything in moderation, right? We don't want to be laissez-faire, you know, where it's like, okay, kids, go ahead, go out in the back for 8 hours and then come back in. You know, we don't want like Lord of the Flies situation. versus like helicopter parenting, like, oh, it's okay, you don't have to, no. We don't want that. Everything in moderation. And it's like a pendulum swing. It's a dance. It's not black or white. When we get caught into black and white thinking, guess who does that? Cluster B. So we don't want to go into dichotomy. Like it's either this or this. No. Everything in between, all gray.
Right. Dawn, I want you to go through your secure.
Yes. Okay. So S would be showing up, that you need to show up for your child. And showing up doesn't mean just sitting in the stands at a soccer game. It means being physically present. So it means putting your phone away. It means emotionally showing up, connecting with your child. What's important to them? What are they playing right now? Maybe you can, like, you know, mirror what they're doing. Like infants, when you make faces that they're making, you're stimulating their mirror neurons. Okay, we need to stimulate mirror neurons so that just like when you yawn, those mirror neurons are being stimulated. So that's, and that's why people, when they're watching like football games, they get really into it because their mirror neurons are going nuts watching the people on the football field.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, no, it's really intense. So mirror neurons, very important, and they lead to creating empathy. So showing up, emotionally showing up for your child. We want to make the child feel like they're significant. Did you ever, you know, like walk into a room and somebody was so excited to see you? Do you know that feeling? Like that's what we should be doing for our kids. Like when working parents come home, like you want to make it a big thing that you're coming home and you're so happy to see them. You're teaching them that they're important, that they matter, right? That is such a key theme in therapy. Like, you matter, you are loved, you know, you are worthy. These are all, like, I think, universal themes that we're lacking when we attract a narcissist.
Right, and I'm thinking, too, by just the S with the showing up and being connected, that's something that a toxic parent is really incapable of doing. They can be physically there, but often they are distracted and they're not really paying attention. You can see that.
Yes.
And the kid can feel that on some level.
And it's shaping their brain. The secure attachment is literally shaping the brain. So if you have a child that's emotionally neglected or in chaos, right? Like the ACEs test, the adverse childhood experiences, you have domestic violence, you know, you have emotional neglect. It's literally shaping the brain. You're increasing the part of the brain that's the stress alarm, and you're making it harder for it to have connections for learning, for calm, because you're also shaping their stress level. You're creating a higher baseline where they're always like in stress. Even that's why, this is interesting, that's why like when people have high blood pressure, I haven't looked at studies, but I have sometimes, like, it's nothing specific or research that I've seen yet, but that it can connect with people with high blood pressure, that they may have had like traumatic early childhood experiences because their baseline was stress. So they have high blood pressure. You know, that was just one thing that I've come across, and I found that very interesting. You know, I'm not giving any medical advice, but I'm just, you know.
Yeah, that is interesting. Okay, so you did S.
So showing up, You want them to feel significant, and that creates their self-esteem and their self-love. So
wait, this is all S?
it's all
Showing up, significant, self-esteem.
that's right. So showing up and making them feel significant is what's building their self-esteem.
Okay, so 3 S's in one.
Yes. Then we
Got
have E. E is empathy. We need to create empathetic people, or this world is going downhill quick. Because if we don't have empathy, then I'm not putting, and there's 3 types of empathy. There's cognitive empathy, like you're drinking, so that must mean you're thirsty. And if it was hot out, I would offer you a drink, but it's not, if I only have cognitive empathy, it's because I know it's hot and you might be thirsty.
Okay.
Emotional empathy is, oh my gosh, I remember how when I feel like I'm so thirsty, my throat, and I feel bad, so I want you not to have to experience that. So I'm going to offer you a drink.
Mm-hmm.
A narcissist, and there's reflexive empathy. That's when a baby like smiles. It's like it's reflexive. There's no thought to it. Narcissists have reflexive and cognitive empathy. They don't.
So,
empathy.
so say a little more. What's reflexive empathy?
Reflexive empathy is where it's just like a reaction. It's just like, I guess they copy you, like a smile. Like if the baby smile, they're not really like.
So it's like a mirroring kind of thing. Like, oh, this must be the right thing to do because they're doing it. Not that I actually feel like doing it.
Right. Not that you're like, oh, I'm so in love with my mommy and I'm going to smile back at her. Yeah, it's just, so that's reflexive empathy. Cognitive empathy, and this is where when you look back, like when I was taking a history, like, I don't understand, there was so much empathy in the relationship. I'm like, wait a minute. No, there really wasn't. Because did you ever have somebody like buy you a gift, a birthday gift, that you're like, you don't know me better than that?
Oh, how many, we've done topic, like that's going to be a topic later this week too.
That's cognitive empathy. That, like, or I should say that they're lacking emotional empathy. You're like, where did this come from? Like that.
Or they're like, I should get flowers or wine.
Yes. Yeah. And it's
even if they don't drink and they like live plants.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Cognitive. It's all in the head. It's like, oh, this is what you do. You get somebody wine and flowers or chocolate. You know, so that's why empathy, and empathy, again, you need the mirror neurons. Empathy is it's going to, I believe, Renee, what the heck is her name? Why am I drawing a blank? Brene Brown. Brene Brown. I believe her quote is that empathy is the antidote to shame.
Ooh.
Yes. So shame is when we were brought up like, you're no good, you're not worthy of love. And that's where we tap into shame. And that's why, you know, people act out. They're trying to like push the shame down. But empathy is that space that says, I'm here and I understand, and let's bring, because how do narcissists act? They act in the dark, right? They under rocks, in secrecy. Everything is in the dark. So empathy brings it out to the light. And it shines the light on it so that it dissipates and it gets less, right? Don't you feel better when you just feel understood? You don't even have to say any words.
Right, when you feel like it's not, I mean, that trite expression that everyone says, like, you're not alone, but you don't feel alone.
Right, but it has to be with somebody that really means you're not alone. Like somebody, you know, like you have to feel it. And that goes into that brain-heart coherence. Like our heart field extends out, I think it's 3 feet. We have a heart, they've measured that our heart gives off a field. That's why we do EKG, because it measures right. And then the brain is the EEG. And when we can get, this is different, you know, it's a different topic, but.
I know you're still on E's, but I'm like, I'm going to bring you back for the C.
I know, I'm sorry. All right. So
no, it's fine. No, it's fascinating. I mean, Dawn, this is fascinating.
Fascinating, because science and philosophy and psychology and medicine, it's all connected. So I'm just going to bring up, so I don't forget, a great TED Talk that I would love for your viewers to watch is Dr. Nadine Burke, her TED Talk on how childhood affects health through the lifespan. I mean, that's like a call to arms of how, you know, all this psychological stuff like affects the physical health and the learning down the road. So Dr. Nadine Burke Harris, TED Talk.
Got it.
Really, you know, something good to talk. So we have E, we have empathy. Okay, so then C is co-regulation. Co-regulation. So people, what do people say? They say, okay, the baby needs to, learn how to soothe itself. Well, I'm telling you, babies, you're their soothe mechanism. Babies don't, adults need co-regulation. They're not able to self-regulate. Yes, we have better tools, but especially when they're little, God, I don't even know what age to give you. Like, I could tell you infants, toddlers, 10, adolescents, they need their stable parent that's going to do a lot of self-development on themselves to help co-regulate, because they're going to come off of me like, oh, they're upset. I'm not going to get upset. I'm not going to engage in their upset. I'm going to bring them to a more stable place, because this is a brain, okay? This is your prefrontal cortex. This is where you think. This is the emotional part of your brain, okay? This is the brainstem. When we, what's called, flip our lid, when we take off the part that is the rational thinking, the emotional thinking is making decisions. Well, when I'm choosing Oreos because I'm stressed, that's not a good cognitive decision to make. And that's Dan Siegel talks about flipping your lid. That's a great visual that you can even teach kids about why we need to kind of like take it down, name the emotion, and just get this part of the brain back online. Because you're either using this or you're using this, the emotional part.
I love it. That is great.
Yeah, a lot of great tools. Okay, so that's co-regulation. It's
C.
C, yes. And consistency. Consistency is if you're erratic and your kid doesn't know what time that you're coming to pick them up, or one day you're yelling at them because, they left the toilet seat up and the next day you're not, they don't know what to expect. They're living in chaos. They need consistency. So that's another great example as to why children need the stable, healthy parent to be consistent. They need to know what they can expect, right? Like, again, we're not going to not have bad days. I have a bad day. Not having a bad day is like Stepford-like. We're not trying to be Stepford parents. We're trying to be human, but we're also holding ourselves accountable. We're apologizing, which is going to bring me into the R for repair. So just remember that.
I will.
All right. So co-regulation. I'm helping my child calm. I'm helping my partner calm. I'm a safe, stable base. Consistency. We need to be as consistent as possible, not rules all over, expectations all over the place.
Okay. C, co-regulation, consistency, not chaos.
No, I like it. That's good. That's another C.
I didn't think you gave that to me. You take the credit for that.
You were creative. It brings out your creative mind. There we go.
C.
Another C. Right.
Like we're doing Sesame Street or Electric Company.
All right. So U is not the letter U, but YOU. And this goes for anything in life. You want to be the change you wish to see in the world. I love that quote, right? Mm-hmm. So children are not listening to us tell them how to be. Oh, you should say please and thank you. You should be respectful. You need to be responsible. No. They're watching what we're doing. Children are modeling our behavior. Children are our best reason for self-development. This is being a parent. It's not just you're having a child. It's like a sacred relationship. It's a sacred contract, a dynamic that it affects. This is getting deep, but this is really how I feel. It's going to affect the generations to come. We're doing all this work. There's a great meme on Instagram, and I don't know if you've seen it, but it's Spider-Man holding back this huge out of control bus with all these people on it, right? Spider-Man's like this. So these two little kids can walk across the street. I'm getting the chills. That's what I see when intergenerational trauma. Because you're stopping that. You're saying enough. Enough. I'm not doing this anymore. I don't want my children to feel cognitive dissonance. I mean, this was all before I even knew that it shapes the brain. So we're affecting the future. We're affecting the future of our families. We're affecting the future of the planet, of just life in general. I don't know, very deep, I know.
Awesome, Dawn. You're on fire. Keep going.
All right.
So that was you.
So you is modeling the behavior you want to see with your child. And Jennifer Garner has a great little clip on the Ellen DeGeneres show that when she teaches gratitude, she says the same thing, like you want to model gratitude. So if you Google Ellen DeGeneres and Jennifer Garner, you'll see a little clip on that. Okay, so we have SECUR, resilience and repair. People, I get so annoyed. I took this class on attachment, and every time the word resilience comes up, they laugh at me because I'm so tired of hearing children are so resilient. And then what I say is, if children are so resilient, why do so many adults need to go to therapy? So stop using that phrase. It's to enable the adult to make a choice that they know is not in the best interest of the child, so that they can go forward saying like, oh, well, children are resilient. They'll get over it. And I say, let's give our children a childhood, that they can grow up to succeed instead of in spite of their childhood. Right?
I love it. I'm like, I can't even keep up with these awesome quotes you're giving me that I'm going to turn into posts.
Quotes are just like little vitamin bites for your soul. So I love you can really feel like the vitamin and the energy you're getting from the quotes. So I'm a big quote person. So anyway, so resilience is not hardwired in children. Resilience is like a muscle. And the way you develop, think about a bicep. Does the bicep, if I just hold the weight in my hand like this and I don't move, am I strengthening my arm? Forget gravity. Let's say you're just holding it. You're not strengthening your bicep, right? You have to come in and out and in and out. Okay, here's baseline. I'm going into stress and I'm going back to baseline. I'm going into stress and I'm going back to baseline. That's how you develop resilience. So it's not about keeping kids in a bubble. It's not about putting them in bubble wrap. It's about you're there with the secure base, the secure attachment that's buffering the stress. They might get a little bit extra stressed, but they can always come back, and you're there to help them come back.
Yeah, what you're saying, I'm thinking about something with my kids, but my daughter in particular, because she tends to be an overthinker. And so I have to keep reminding her, you're going to get through this because look at everything that you've gotten through before. So I put for the R, reminding them what they've done and made it through.
That's called a history of evidence. And actually, there's another book. It's called The Optimistic Child by Martin Seligman. That's the book that changed my life. It was before I had my first son. I sent it to Oprah. She didn't pick up on it. Martin Seligman, she was leaving that year, so she had too many topics to get to, I guess. Martin Seligman, The Optimistic Child. It talks about, it helps you, help yourself with the self-talk that you're doing in order to help your child. So it talks about history of evidence. So what you did was say, well, remember when you did this essay and you got this grade? You've been here before. It's a little bit different, but you're creating resilience for her. And that self-talk, here's the quote. The way we talk to our children becomes their inner voice. So you're teaching your daughter how to talk to herself when you're not around. Guess what happens? That's a positive talk. Guess what happens when you hear from parents, oh, you're a piece of crap, you're stupid, you're an idiot, what are you, stupid? You're causing problems. Children's brain waves from birth through about 7 are in theta. That's hypnotic level. They are a complete sponge. Whatever they hear, whatever they see is getting put into their psyche that they're spending lots of money on later on when they're an adult, trying to pull it out with EMDR.
Right.
We have to be very mindful. Yeah, very mindful.
So speaking of that, that's a great example, because that's the fear that our people have, is I'm trying to be good and the other parent is saying such terrible things to them and destroying their self-esteem. But you're saying that for us, if we can still repair, that's part of the job, that's part of the R, is repair. And remind them of what they've already gone through, and then back to the S being showing up and being happy to see them. So all these things go together, but I don't want to make it like we're winding up because we're still on R. We haven't gotten to E yet.
So repair also means, let's say my child does something that wasn't the best decision, because they're going to make mistakes. We want them, they got to make mistakes by doing, right? We can't just tell them what to do. Again, we model, but they got a hands-on. Repair is, I do something that was not, let's say, the best decision, and I'm going to take accountability. I'm modeling accountability, because guess who has no accountability, right? That's one of the problems. I'm going to show my child, you need to hold yourself accountable and acknowledge that what you did contributed to an issue, and maybe you hurt somebody's feelings. It's very important to repair the relationship. That's repair. So we have to, apologize. We have to model, right? We have to model apologizing. It's not always about say you're sorry to your sister. It's not always about that. It's about like having, and then the other thing too is not necessarily doing it in the time of the intense situation, like reprimanding, because everybody's in their emotional brain. That's not, learning takes place in this part. They're not learning anything. All that trauma and all that self-talk is going into their psyche. So everybody, including the parent, has flipped their lid, and nobody's in a position to learn.
Right.
How to repair whatever was broken,
So just like C, and because I'm taking all these notes, C is not chaos.
Yes.
R is not reprimand.
Well, I don't want to, so I guess reprimand can be, because again, I'm not perfect. I mean, it could be, but reprimand sense, like there's a time to make everything like a teaching opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like opportunity. So
right.
Yeah.
But they can hear it better when they're not with their lid flipped.
Right. Well, they're not hearing it and isn't that when we want them to hear? We want them to understand. We want to say how it affected the other person, right? That's right. Empathy. All this is all like mishmashed into one big process. It's like weaving. You're not doing individual steps. It's all intertwined.
I know. Where's the T for timing? But anyway.
I know. I get on and on, right? For timing of when to say it.
Yeah.
I took it like talking for a long time.
No, Dawn. I'm just like, I want to make sure we stay under an hour so I can clip it and then get it onto TikTok too.
Right in front of me, 6:42. All right. So now we have E. Okay. E is emotional intelligence, emotional education. Okay. It is so crucial that children learn their emotions. There's a great book called The Color Monster that teaches little ones like their emotions, because when we name it, we tame it. So we want to teach little ones like, oh, how are you feeling? Are you feeling angry? We want to model, we want to educate them on terms and, you look, and this is where empathy comes in and like, mindsight, like thinking how, that's a good a resource is the International Circle of Security for people that really want to learn about this attachment. That's a great resource for parents. The International Circle of Security.
What is that? Is that a book, a site? What is it?
Right, and it teaches you about like attachment, and so it's really just it gives good resources. It gives great resources. So we want to teach like the movie Inside Out. All the characters are individual colors, right? Maybe the child, if they're even pre-verbal, if they're angry, get a red crayon. Pre-verbal brings me to the fact, so from birth through 18 months, everything that we're learning is what's called implicit memory. So you feel things like you don't remember getting your diaper changed or being, having a birthday party, but you can feel the tonality of what was taking place. There's a lot of nonverbal cues. So like if you had a parent that would rip you out of the bed because they was just like, if it was an alcoholic parent and they wanted to shut you up, that baby is sensing through their body the way they're being taken out of a crib, or the way they're being given a bottle, or the tone of the voice, right? The mother ease or the parent ease, as they're saying. There are certain cues that babies are learning before they're even verbal. So that's really important, that even don't think that there's a light switch. Oh, my 1-year-old can't learn emotional education. Well, there's no on and off. It's not like it happens when they turn 6. It's again, like a beautiful, every day it's a dance, and one day it's just all gonna sink in, and you're gonna see you're gonna see the crops, if you will, you're gonna reap what you're sowing this whole time. So emotional education, emotional intelligence, they say that EQ, so EQ is the term for emotional intelligence. EQ versus IQ is a better indicator for success in an adult. People like, oh, we got to get them to Harvard, we got to get them to Yale. No, it's about creating that emotional intelligence in them. And
I totally agree. I've always told my kids that, like, you need great social skills.
yes,
That matters more than anything.
but genuine. See, this is where
Right.
I just no, and the reason I say that is because, like, I'll see something. I watch a lot of YouTube, of course, like self-help or whatever, and they'll say, like, oh, you can tell a lot by the way they treat the weight, right? But now I'm going to say that can also be a red flag, because we know narcissists like to kind of well, it depends, covert, overt. They like to razzle dazzle and look like the good guy. That misleading. So when you say social skills, I agree with you, but it's that emotional empathy that's going to underlie the really good social skills that you're talking about versus the manipulative social skills. Like, that's why I feel like teenagers and Gabby Petito and the Gabby Petito Foundation, they really, I haven't seen exactly what they're doing, but I know they were going to dabble in, like, domestic violence education. And I really hope that they would, educate on, like, the red flags. Like, you see what was happening in that video, how he was, like, schmoozing and looking like the good guy. And she looked unhinged. That's reactive abuse. So we want empathetic social skills, and we need to learn and look out for what manipulative social skills look like. And that you learn to, like, read between. I'm very, like, now, like a dog whistle. Like, when I hear somebody say something and I'm like, okay, that's one thing. And you don't want to judge somebody right away, but you want to listen for, like, a pattern. Like, okay, they said this, and that can be construed as manipulative. Let me see what happens. Because my motto these days are, you're a narc until proven innocent. That's my motto.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned to pay more attention to my, it sounds so stupid, but to my gut, because always for the first the first couple of decades of my life, it was like I would make excuses for people, be like, even though something they did or said is making me uncomfortable, I'm probably wrong. I should give them the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
But if there's a reason why I'm feeling uncomfortable, like, I'm not paranoid. If someone makes me uncomfortable, there's always a reason for it. And I know I'm going to find out later, but it's like I have to learn to trust my feelings and my judgment, because for so many such a long period of my life, I just was like, oh no, it's probably this, and sweeping stuff under the rug instead of actually confronting it and being like, you're right. Like, there's a reason for it.
And that's what part of we want to facilitate that authentic part of the child. We want them to trust their gut. That's the other thing too, is like being that stable base versus the other, with the other parent, like how they're being gaslit, manipulated, to really say, this is what love feels like. Our beginning relationships with our parents, those beginning relationships set the precedence, set the template for later romantic or even business friendships, for patterns. So we have to do right by our kids. I want my kids to know what love feels like. So when something doesn't feel like love, like that gut instinct, it's not like swept away. It's like more pronounced, and to get them to learn to trust themselves.
Yeah. Again, I'm thinking about my daughter when her overthinking, or she's in college now, and she talks about how sometimes she'll be with a group of people and she's like, there's something, I don't know why that person makes me uncomfortable, but they have so many friends, so they're probably nice. Maybe it's just me. And I'm like, no, you know how you are. Like, you get along with so many people. Like, if that person is treating you poorly, like, it's probably not you. Like, pay attention. And then, inevitably they find out that the person has issues with a number of people, and it's not just her. Right. But, she always worries, like me, she worries.
Yeah, because you want to be, I think there's a people pleaser in all of us. We want to be nice. We want to be construed. We want to go with the flow and get along with everybody. So it's a matter of that balance, right? Like, I unfortunately, I was a people pleaser, Pollyanna. I still have those elements in me. But again, back to Buddha, everything in moderation. Being at the far end of the spectrum, like the rose-colored glasses, that was not healthy for me. Because I didn't even know I was being abused. I didn't even know. I had no
idea. Neither.
Right. Yeah. You got to take the glasses off. Now I'm at the other end, but I'm looking to come back because I don't want to live jaded. But those beginning relationships, those kids, like the ones that are really, you know, suffering abuse and they're being manipulated, like that's the way they're going to look through life. They're going to look through a lens. And I just want like that healthy, like, okay, you know, you're good. I'm going to look for a pattern. Again, not black and white thinking, not like they did one thing and then you write them off. That's not what we want. But if you see a pattern, what Maya Angelou said, you know, like believe somebody when they show you who they are the first time.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
you give them, you know, just a little bit, not. And I was also brought up Roman Catholic. I went to Catholic school. You know, you forgive somebody 777 times. You turn the other cheek. You give them the shirt on your back. We're targets. All of my strengths were used against me. Against me. I can't. It's almost like, you know, like when there's like a superhero, and it's like they somehow turn the power against them to like keep them from shining or using their strengths. And that to me was the biggest paradigm explosion. Like all those good traits about me were my downfall. It was life shattering, the reality that I had to then go through what I went through and then to come out the other side and be like, okay, now we're going to take this knowledge and this experience and we're going to try to bring it back so that parents can raise children that are a little bit more tuned to know that they're worthy, that they are perfect just as they are. In reference to that, though, there is a point, in my opinion, where kids get older and at some point they don't get unconditional love. If a kid is going to start doing something and it's like pushing boundaries and being very disrespectful, yes, I might love them, but I think that we have a misunderstanding of what unconditional love is. And I'm not an emotional punching bag. And I love you for who you are, and I was very lucky, you know. So that's an interesting dynamic to see just in people's, like when I talk to people, to hear like at some point, you know, unconditional love does not mean that I'm fair game to, you know, for you to use me as your emotional punching bag.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, little ones get an unconditional love. That's what's going to fill their cup and teach them that they're worthy and they can see who they are through your eyes. That's huge. It's huge.
Yeah. So glancing at the time. So Dawn, we don't have time to get into a whole thing about boundaries today, but you know I'm going to get you back on for that. But I want you to have time in the next few minutes to talk about tummy time and what that is, because I'm going to start telling, like, I want you to tell people how they can find you and what this new thing you're working on is.
So again, I'm passionate about babies. I love babies, and I'm a physical therapist. You know, that's my first hat on top of being a mom. But being a physical therapist, you know, it's really important for the tummy time and to do it like from day one, because through their ability to master their body, you know, they develop that self-confidence, but it's also a time where parents can work on that secure attachment. So it's kind of my way of like getting in through the back door. Like we're going to connect the mind, right? Cognitive and learning and play skills, the body, physical therapy, tummy time, strengthening all those muscles, crawling, sitting, walking, and then the spirit, mind, body, spirit. Because we want them to have the whole package as they, you know, as they get older and really have a chance for their best life. So I'm starting this tummy time support group. Again, that's just one way to kind of get in, teach how mental health starts in the beginning, work on the tummy time and educate. And I'm doing it, I believe we're going to do it for like 4 sessions at a clip. Maybe we'll go longer, you know, like maybe 6 classes down the road, or come as you want kind of a thing. It's through virtual, also virtual option. You would go to at the Little Bean House Cafe. It's in Wisconsin, and I've offered a virtual option. So even though, you know, you're not necessarily on Long Island, you can, you know, do tummy time with your baby, even if they're pre-crawler. Like they don't, it could be anywhere from birth through pre-crawling. You know, they learn how to push up, and it's just a time to educate. And
how can people find you if they're, because I imagine like everybody watching is not in Long Island.
Right. So you could go to @SecureBabies on Instagram, or this class is also advertised at the Little Bean House Cafe.
Okay, great.
I'll send that to you. I'll send you the link for the Little Bean House, just to make sure I have the right.
Okay, and also, so @SecureBabies, that's you anyway. So people the best way for them to get a hold of you is @SecureBabies on Instagram.
Yes. Yes.
We need to do a part 2 of this. Boundaries.
Boundaries. Yes. Yes, because just quick, I know we only have a few time, but the best analogy for why the secure attachment is so crucial is because we're trying to build a house, a safe house for our children. Our children are that house. We want to create a secure base, which is the secure attachment, but the boundaries, we want to give them the walls so that when the weather comes, which is trauma's coming. It's coming, whether it's big T or little t, as they say, it's coming. Right. But the way I got the chills, the way I look at empathy is we're putting doors and windows on those walls, right?
Love it.
I don't want the walls to be just a fortress with not being able to see outside or letting people see inside. We want the secure base, we want the boundaries, but we also want the windows and the doors so that people can be invited in and, we can let them into, our life, their life.
Yeah. Okay. So someone asked about saying Instagram again. So Instagram is Dawn is Secure Babies.
Yes.
And I'll put it, we're going to post this recording right after and I'll put all that in there. But thank you as always, Dawn. I'm going to get you back to talk at length at Boundaries. I have filled up my paper with so many notes and quotes and resources and TED Talks and books to read and videos to watch.
Yes.
So this has been awesome.
Thank you for having me. I love talking with my people. I love
yeah.
We're all in this together.
Yes, me too.
Yes, thank you.
Me too. All right, so we'll catch up soon.
Okay.
And plan our part 2.
All right, Lisa.
Okay, bye, Dawn.